So one of the coolest things that I've tried to do over the years is introduce the term OSINT to people that had never heard it, but we're doing some of the same things we did, whether it's penetration testers and offensive security people doing recon, which is OSINT, or cyber defenders and cyber threat intelligence people that are looking up adversaries and trying to figure out who's hacking them or attacking them, or that's all open source intelligence types of skills as well.
Welcome to NeedleStack, the podcast for professional online research. I'm your host, Matt Ashburn.
And I'm your co-host, Jeff Phillips. Today we're joined by Micah Hoffman, president of the OSINT Curious Project, and also a few other entities along the way. Micah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. And, last season, we actually had a colleague of yours join us on the show from the OSINT Curious Project to discuss the dark web. But for listeners who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about the OSINT Curious Project and the mission that you guys have?
Absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. The OSINT Curious Project was created back in 2019 as a response to some people that were sharing some open source intelligence blog posts and other things that were lacking analysis, lacking substance. And myself and 5 other people that were in the industry thought, hey, why don't we get together to create a solid, technically accurate source of information that people could trust within the OSINT world or the open source intelligence world, a place where they could go learn things, trust that there's good analysis, that we're really creating thought-provoking content, and where we're teaching them for free. So we created the project in 2019, blogged a bunch at osintcurio.us or OSINT Curious. And then we started doing videos. So we have these short 10-minute videos where people can learn a skill, or we have some longer videos where we've done interviews with people in the OSINT world, people that use OSINT, and also we've done some live streams that range from very short to 3 hours long, where we explore OSINT topics, OSINT news, and play the wonderful geolocation game, geoguessr.com.
I've seen that game. I've watched a few of those videos. That is amazing what people are able to pull out of those photos and use their skills. It's fun to watch and see what, again, see the tools and their skills. You mentioned the catalyst. You weren't seeing a lot of analysis going along with some of the OSINT, which is great. So then, can you talk a little bit about who's utilizing it? Who do you see as the audience? Are there certain types of people? Are they all professional, or are there, who's in there watching this and learning?
Yeah, so the OSINT Curious is a project for everybody. Since all of our material and content is free, I frequently hear from people of really any different part of the world, from different geographic locations to different jobs to different points in their careers, from people that are just interested in, and they heard the term OSINT, they had no idea what it was, learning from our blog posts. We also see some referrers come to our website from university pages that might use some of our blog posts and some of their references. We have people in law enforcement around the world that may not have any budget for quality OSINT training, that use our tools and techniques and blog posts that we've written to help them solve crime. And we have cyber, and just everybody out there that I've talked to really enjoys OSINT Curious and what it's been, and just all of the resources that it's done. One of the things that we do, that it's not just pushing out data to people, but also bringing them together, is our OSINT Curious Discord, which we've had for several years now. And it's a wonderful place to come and to just watch what people are posting from around the world. You can participate in the online chats if you want, or you can just lurk and not do a darn thing and just learn from other people. It's a really neat place, and low pressure, very very professional-ish type of place as well.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned also one of the great resources that you guys have, which is the 10-minute tricks, and everything from how to geolocate a photo to conducting research on Snapchat. Is there a best place for people to start with those? Is there a particular flow that they should follow, or just kind of go in and find things there?
Well, over the years, we've tried to organize the videos, and we actually have a document on our website. If you go to the 10-minute tips section, there's a Google Doc that one of our previous members created. That's essentially an organization of what is the video, what is it about, what are you going to learn, and then a link to the video. And that's in the resources section of the 10-minute tips pages. That's a great place to start out, because if you're interested, Matt, in learning how to use Linux tools for open source intelligence, you type in the word Linux and then you get all these Python programs or other types of things that you might use to go ahead and learn. So I would say that's the best place, although everything that we have is all of our videos are over on YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/at OSINT Curious, you can just search in there and find all of our videos. And we've tried to put keywords and hashtags and stuff where appropriate and know people's names. So that would be good. Or Google search.
That's excellent. We were talking earlier that you also developed a tool, Micah, called "What's My Name" app. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it helps OSINT researchers?
Absolutely. I love this tool. It's been a pet project of mine since 2015 or even before that. I used to do cybersecurity, and in cybersecurity, one of the things that I would do is web application penetration testing, so security testing of websites. And I always used to have to try to find certain information about the developers that made the application to research them, and so I've started noticing that many applications like Twitter and Instagram and other social media, as well as other tools that we might use, have in the URL like usernames. So like I'm twitter.com/web breacher, instagram.com/web breacher. And I thought, well, why can't we just specify one username and then just substitute in twitter.com, instagram.com, and then look for the responses to see if there is an account or is not an account there. That's what What's My Name does, but it does it so fast in your browser and free. And so the application is called What's My Name app. That's app. And what happened is I made this great Python tool that very few people used. And then Chris Poulter, the amazing Australian OSINT person that goes by OSINT Combine, he came along and said, that's Python. Let me make it webified. And so he took that tool and made the What's My Name app site and has been hosting it ever since and did a great job, so that all people have to do is go to What's My Name app, type in the usernames that they're interested, select the categories, and then their browser will reach out to over 600 different websites looking to see if that username is on those websites. And then they just have to figure out which of the positive responses are their targets.
That's amazing, and the efficiency that drives is awesome. So I encourage people to check that out.
Yeah, lots of good value there. Yeah, one of the other things that I want to make sure we touch on, Micah, if we could, as a volunteer law enforcement officer myself, I'm interested in your work with the National Child Protection Task Force, and wonder if you could talk a bit about that and how that the OSINT skills that you've honed over the years can help to benefit law enforcement and help protect children.
Yeah, that's some really interesting work that I've been doing for months now, and I'm very happy and excited to be able to work with the NCPTF. They have a tremendous mission of helping people that are missing and exploited, whether they're children or adults, and they work very closely with international team of amazing law enforcement people to achieve their mission. So what NCPTF does is they have a collection of some free tools, some paid tools that have been donated, and then they have volunteers like myself, well, like I used to be, but now I'm an employee. They have people like me that come on and work cases that law enforcement either has an urgent need for. Hey, this child has gone missing. We have no leads other than this, like a phone number or a user account, or people that are being trafficked. And we might have a case that has some photos of a person that is abused or trafficked from years ago that we analyze, and then we pull out details about where that picture was taken or with what type of camera and all. And then what we do is we take whatever we find using OSINT techniques, using social media tools, and give that back to law enforcement so that they can catch the people, find the missing people, or otherwise take their actions that they need to do. So it's a wonderful support role for a very important job and a hard job that law enforcement has.
Wow, that's great stuff. And I had mentioned at the intro, besides OSINT Curious, and then the now you've mentioned NCPTF. There's a third area I know that our listeners will be interested in. If you could talk a little bit about your involvement at myosint.training, and what kind of instruction does that provide, and who that is targeted to.
You're hitting all my favorite topics here. So miles in training, I honestly, it's really a wonderful site for me. I had a course that I taught for another organization for years on open source intelligence, and I found there were some limits in what I could teach and how I could teach it. So last year, right about this time, my OSINT training went live, and what I did was I put on there some recorded videos of me teaching some different types of material. And over the past year, I've added more and more content, and I've had some wonderfully talented people like Lizette Abercrombie, who goes by Technizette online, who's also an OSINT Curious member, Griffin Glynn, who goes by Hatless Wonder, and some other people that are coming up this year making their own courses to be hosted on MyOSINT Training. So MyOSINT.training, what we have is recorded courses that should meet most people's needs if they're starting out in open source intelligence, if they're mid-career, if they want to get into an area of OSINT that maybe they haven't ever delved into. We have recorded courses on that. And myself and Griffin, if anybody wants us to take some of those courses and go teach live, we do that as well. So it provides us a great platform for giving some good quality training to the OSINT community.
If you don't mind, I'm sure there's and I've seen it. There are lots. There is lots of content. Can you highlight a few of the topics that are covered for people, spark their interest?
Oh, absolutely. So if you're just starting out in OSINT or you're somewhere in the middle of your career, we've got courses that uh, scratch the surface or dive really deeply. For instance, we have courses on finding people, so doing research on email addresses, usernames, phone numbers, and addresses. Introductions to social media. If you've never gotten onto a social media platform and really looked around as an OSINT investigator, we've got a class for you. Lizette Abercrombie, as I mentioned, has a whole bunch of classes on Facebook, and we're coming out with some more, or she's coming out with some more later on this year on some other social media platforms. And then for the more technical people, one of the things that I've always heard is, hey, I really want to get into the Python tools, but I don't know where to start. So we have some Python tools. I show how to set up a system to run Python, and then we go through several different tools like Holohead, DNS Recon, and some other ones. I'm sorry, Holy DNS Recon and some others, to really get used to how do we download tools, run them, and use them for OSINT work. And like I said, our repertoire of classes, we're just a year old now. We are continuing to add to it, and we'll be doing so in the coming year.
Yeah, one thing you've touched on a couple of times here is some overlap between cybersecurity and OSINT, and I think if we can pull that thread a little bit there, are there some other trends that you've recognized over the years? Are there other similarities between the two?
Oh, absolutely, Matt. The What I noticed back years ago was that people were using open source intelligence skills, but in other professions. I have the I've told the story about when I used to work in an organization, and I worked closely with some recruiters trying to get those cybersecurity people that were really, really tough to find. And I said, "Well, how do you do that?" And she said, and it was really funny. She kind of looked right, she looked left. She's like, "All right, you can't tell anybody we do this." I'm like, "Uh-oh, what's happening?" And she's like, "We use Boolean queries." And she gave me a look and a nod. I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Okay, you go to Google and you type in, quote, penetration space tester, quote, or the or is the Boolean, or cybersecurity analyst." I'm like, "Oh, you're doing Google dorking. We've been doing that since 2000. They're like, "No, no, no. Boolean searches." Okay. So one of the coolest things that I've tried to do over the years is introduce the term OSINT to people that had never heard it, but we're doing some of the same things we did, whether it's penetration testers and offensive security people doing recon, which is OSINT, or cyber defenders and cyber threat intelligence people that are looking up adversaries and trying to figure out who's hacking them or attacking them, or that's all open source intelligence types of skills as well. So that's one of the things I've tried to really work on, is telling everybody, hey, you might not think you're using the same skills we are, but you are.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something in the day job at Authenticate. That's something that we face, right? Is, how do you reach the right audience with these things that could make use of the platform? And so I always say, very few people think that they're doing OSINT, but everybody is. Right? Some people may call it research, some people may call it an investigation, but in the end, it's all the same stuff for the most part. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference that I found is that, a lot of people use the skills, but OSINT as open source intelligence focuses on that final product. You might be using tools that can help out in OSINT cases, or using techniques, but that OSINT is a more formalized process. But you're absolutely right. Whether you're looking into who you're dating, or who your child is bringing home, or who's taking care of your aging parent in a nursing facility, these types of looking up people, looking up businesses, looking up websites, it's all things that we do.
Well, Micah, our audience ranges from the beginner to the expert, in the federal space, to the commercial. And you've already given a lot of great resources and tips, but that's something that we like to focus on in the show. Before we wrap up, are there any other tools or tips that you'd like to pass along to the audience?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's several things that I can think of. First off, is my biggest reply to people when they say, "Well, how do I get started in the industry? Do I need to buy this book or watch this video?" Or I suggest connecting with the community, because the reality is if you join a Discord like the OSINT Curious Discord, or some of the other ones that are out there, you're going to hear different perspectives. You're going to learn how people are solving geolocation challenges and other things from these other people, instead of just coming to Micah or somebody else and saying, "Hey, how do you do it?" You hear a lot of diverse ways of solving problems, and that is very important in OSINT. So join some kind of group. That's my number one. Number two, you got to know where the things are, where the resources are, where the tools are. For me, there's two places I like to go. One is my buddy Griffin's Start Me page, and I'll share the link with you all. It's an amazing page that shows who some of the main players in OSINT are that you can follow or read their blogs. Shows their blogs, has trainings, capture the flags. They're all OSINT focused, resources, and more. And one of the problems that I found over the years is that we have a lot of OSINT focused Start Me pages. There's hundreds of them. And so you and I and junior people end up going from Start Me to Start Me and all, and it's confusing. So my second resource page is something that I created. It's called smart.myosint.training. What I did was I created another tool that it essentially every night goes around to everybody's Start Me pages and grabs all their links and then organizes it in a single tool. So if you want something, if you want to look up something on Telegram, the social media platform, you can just go to smart.myosint.training, type in Telegram, and it shows you all of the places everybody else's Start Me had a resource for. And it also says, hey, it's on that Start Me or that Start Me. So it's a way of searching across all of those Start Me pages very efficiently and very quickly. So yeah, I think those are my main things. Discord, join a group, and those resources.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, Micah, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and the tips you've given us today, and helping to educate our audience a bit more about OSINT and all of the trends and tools that are available out there. If you in the audience, by the way, liked what you heard, you can, of course, view transcripts and other episode info on our website at authenticate.com/needlestack. That's authentic with the number 8.com/needlestack. Also, be sure to let us know what you thought of the show today. You can find us on Twitter at NeedleStackPod. And of course, you can always like and subscribe wherever you're listening to us today. We'll be back next week with more OSINT research tips. We'll see you then.